Let's see you make that junk run. The challenge echoed across the parking lot of Vintage VW Revival, an annual car show in Portland, Oregon, where air-cooled Volkswagen enthusiasts gathered to display restored Beetles, buses, Karmann Ghia and Type 3s, celebrating German engineering from an era when cars were simple, affordable and fixable with basic tools. The declaration came from a guy named Trevor Matthews, early 40s, wearing a vintage Porsche racing jacket, aviator sunglasses, and the confidence that comes from owning multiple six-figure classic cars. He was standing next to his pride and joy, a fully restored 1966 VW Type 3 squareback painted in pristine turquoise with white interior, chrome gleaming, every detail perfect down to the original hubcaps and period-correct Sapphire 8 radio. Trevor had spent $78,000 over 3 years having this car professionally restored by a shop in California that specialized in concours-level VW builds. Every nut, bolt, and piece of trim was either original or correct reproduction. The engine was a freshly rebuilt 1600cc flat-four, producing maybe 54 horsepower, exactly as Volkswagen intended in 1966. This car won trophies at every show it attended. Trevor made sure people knew that by parking it prominently and spending hours describing the restoration process to anyone who'd listen. The target of Trevor's mockery sat 3 rows away in the project car section, the area where Vintage VW Revival allowed unrestored vehicles to display as works in progress, encouraging owners to share builds still under construction. This particular vehicle was a 1967 Volkswagen Type 3 squareback that looked like it had been retrieved from a forest where it had been abandoned since 1982. The paint, what remained of it, was a faded, sun-damaged sage green with rust blooming through every panel like diseased skin. The chrome trim was missing entirely, leaving raw metal edges. Both bumpers were bent and held on with visible zip ties. The passenger-side rear quarter panel had significant accident damage, crudely repaired with Bondo and primer that didn't match anything. All 4 tires were different brands and sizes, none looking particularly safe at highway speeds. The windows were foggy with age and moisture damage. The interior visible through the glass showed torn seats, a dashboard cracked like drought-stricken earth, a steering wheel wrapped in electrical tape, and what appeared to be a spare transmission sitting where the rear bench seat should be. By every objective measure, this squareback looked beyond saving, the kind of car that should be parted out for scrap metal and whatever usable components remained, not displayed at a car show where people celebrated preservation and restoration. The owner was sitting in a folding chair next to the squareback, eating a sandwich and reading a magazine like she didn't have a care in the world. Her name was Lisa Chen, 39 years old, wearing grease-stained cargo, pants, a t-shirt from her shop, Chen Performance Works in Eugene, Oregon, and work boots that had clearly seen decades of service. She'd towed this squareback to Portland on a flatbed trailer behind her 2005 Ford F-250, registering it in the project car category specifically to display the before condition, while she explained her restoration plan to interested spectators. Most people had walked by without stopping. The car was too far gone to generate interest. A few had stopped to ask if she was actually planning to restore it, or just display it as a cautionary tale about neglect. Lisa had calmly explained her vision: full restoration, modern drivetrain, period-correct exterior, classic RestoMod approach, combining vintage aesthetics with modern performance and reliability. Most listeners had nodded politely and moved on, clearly skeptical that this pile of rust would ever be anything other than landfill material. Trevor Matthews had been more vocal about his skepticism. He'd been holding court near his pristine squareback, explaining to a group of admirers how proper restoration required patience, money, and respect for original specifications. When someone mentioned there was another Type 3 squareback at the show, Trevor had walked over to see it, expecting to admire a fellow enthusiast's work. Instead, he'd found Lisa's rust-riddled project sitting in the display area like someone had mistakenly delivered it to a car show instead of a salvage yard. Trevor had immediately started commentary, not quietly to his friends, but loud enough for Lisa and everyone nearby to hear. "This is what's being displayed? This pile of rust? I mean, look at this thing, it's beyond restoration. You'd spend $50,000 just fixing the rust damage alone. The engine's probably seized. The transmission's literally sitting in the back seat. This isn't a project car. This is a parts donor that someone's delusional about. I've restored 3 Type 3s. I know what's savable and what's not. This is not. He walked around the squareback filming with his phone, zooming in on rust holes, the damaged quarter panel, the mismatched tires. And someone actually towed this here to display it. At Vintage VW Revival. This is embarrassing. It lowers the quality of the entire show. If you can't afford to restore something properly, don't bring it to a show where people actually care about preservation. Several people in the crowd nodded agreement. Some looked uncomfortable with Trevor's harshness. Most just watched. Lisa had continued eating her sandwich through the entire commentary, not acknowledging Trevor at all, which seemed to irritate him more. Finally, Trevor walked directly up to her chair. "You're the owner?" Lisa looked up from her magazine. "Yep. And you actually think you can restore this? Make it run? Get it looking decent?" Lisa set down her magazine. "Don't need to restore it. Already did." Trevor laughed. "Already did? This is restored? Lady, I hate to break it to you, but you got scammed by whatever shop charged you for this disaster." Lisa stood up calmly. "Didn't say this was the restored version. This is the before. The after is back home. But I brought this one to show people what I started with. Makes the transformation more impressive." Trevor's expression shifted to confusion. "Wait, you have 2 of these?" "No, I have 3. This one's the donor shell I used for fabrication practice. The finished one is back in my shop. And the 3rd one I'm building for a customer. But since you think this is unfixable junk, how about we make it interesting? You give me 3 hours. If I can get this exact car, this rust pile you're filming, to start, run, and drive around this parking lot, you donate $5,000 to the Vintage VW Youth Restoration Program. If I can't, I'll donate $5,000. Deal? Before we go further, I want to ask, where are you watching from? US? Another country? Drop a comment. And have you ever been told something was impossible, then proved everyone wrong? Let's build a community that refuses to accept can't be done." Trevor looked at the squareback, then at Lisa, then back at the car. The rust was severe, the damage extensive, the tires questionable. Getting this to start seemed improbable. Getting it to actually drive safely seemed impossible. But Trevor's ego had been challenged publicly, and backing down would look worse than accepting. Plus, he was certain this car wouldn't run. $5,000. To humiliate someone who'd had the audacity to display junk at a quality show? Worth it. Deal. 3 hours. But it has to actually run and drive. Not just crank or idle. It has to move under its own power safely enough that someone could ride in it. And I'm filming the whole thing for my YouTube channel so everyone can see. Lisa extended her hand. Deal. They shook. Trevor immediately posted to his Instagram. About to watch someone fail spectacularly, trying to make a rust bucket run in 3 hours. This should be entertaining. Vintage VW. Type 3. Not happening. The post got immediate engagement. His 45,000 followers loved drama. Lisa walked to her F-250 truck and lowered the tailgate, revealing what looked like a professional mobile mechanics shop. Rolling toolbox, portable air compressor, battery jump pack, diagnostic equipment, parts bins organized with labels. She grabbed a rolling cart and started loading it with specific tools and components. Trevor and a growing crowd watched. As Lisa worked, she started by popping the squareback's rear engine cover. What everyone expected to see was a seized, rusted, original 1600cc engine that hadn't run since the Reagan administration. What they actually saw was an empty engine bay. Completely empty. No engine at all, just wiring harnesses hanging loose and empty mounts. Trevor laughed triumphantly. "There's not even an engine. How are you going to make it run with no engine?" Lisa didn't respond. She walked back to her truck and, with surprising strength, pulled out a complete engine assembly on an engine stand. But this wasn't an original VW Flat 4. This was a modern Subaru EJ20 turbocharged Flat 4 from a WRX, 2.0 liters, fuel-injected, turbocharged, making around 270 horsepower in stock form. But this one clearly wasn't stock. Upgraded turbo, aftermarket intake manifold, standalone engine management, professional wiring harness. The whole assembly looked like it had been prepared for exactly this moment. Trevor's confident expression faltered slightly. "Wait, you're swapping in a Subaru engine? In 3 hours? That's impossible. Engine swaps take days, weeks even. You need custom mounts, adapter plates, wiring." "Already done," Lisa interrupted. wheeling the engine on its stand toward the squareback. Custom mounts are already welded in the chassis. Adapter plate for the transmission is done. Wiring harness is prefabbed and labeled. Exhaust is custom built and waiting. I've done this swap 17 times. I can do it in 2 hours. Gives me 1 hour buffer for troubleshooting. The crowd that had been casually watching suddenly pressed closer. This had gone from watch someone fail to watch someone attempt something genuinely impressive. Lisa grabbed her phone, called 2 people. Tony, Maria, I need you at the VW show. Bring the truck. I'm doing the install. 20 minutes later, a white cargo van pulled up with Chen Performance Works on the side. 2 people climbed out. Tony Martinez, early 30s, skilled fabricator, and Maria Rodriguez, mid-20s, expert mechanic specializing in engine swaps. They'd been eating lunch at a restaurant 2 miles away, waiting for Lisa's call. Because this whole thing, the rusty squareback, the challenge, the 3-hour timeline, had been planned. Lisa had anticipated someone like Trevor would mock the car. She'd prepared for it. The donor shell wasn't actually a rust pile shell. It was a fully prepared chassis with all mounting. Points ready, wiring pre-installed, just waiting for the engine to drop in. The rust and damage? Real but structural integrity had been verified and reinforced with hidden welding inside the chassis. The appearance was deliberately terrible to set up the reveal. This was theater with a purpose, proving a point about assumptions. Lisa, Tony, and Maria went to work like a NASCAR pit crew. Lisa operated the portable engine hoist, lifting the Subaru EJ20 from its stand. Tony guided it into the engine bay while Maria aligned custom engine mounts. The Subaru Flat 4, being similar in layout to VW's Flat 4, fit remarkably well with proper mounts. The mounts bolted in with pre-threaded inserts Lisa had welded into the chassis weeks ago. Engine secured in 8 minutes. Transmission connection next. The EJ20 mated to a Subaru 5-speed manual that connected to a custom adapter plate, linking to VW Type 3 CV joints and rear suspension geometry. The adapter plate, made from billet aluminum, CNC machined at Lisa's shop, bolted up in 12 minutes. Wiring harness next. Lisa had spent 40 hours building a custom harness that integrated Subaru engine management with VW chassis wiring, every connector labeled with color-coded zip ties and printed labels. The harness plugged in like a factory install, wiring connected in 18 minutes. Cooling system. Lisa had pre-plumbed aluminum radiator mounted in the front trunk area with electric fans and hardline plumbing. Connection points for engine coolant hoses aligned perfectly with quick disconnect fittings. Cooling connected in 7 minutes. Exhaust. Custom-built stainless steel system with flex joints and V-band clamps. Dropped into place from underneath, supported by custom hangers. Connected in 9 minutes. Fuel system. Upgraded fuel tank with internal baffling. High-flow pump. Custom fuel lines with AN fittings. Fuel pressure regulator. All pre-installed in the chassis. Connection to engine took 6 minutes. Intercooler. Plumbing for the turbo. Aluminum pipes with silicone couplers, pre-bent to fit the unique packaging of a rear-engine car. Connected in 11 minutes. Total elapsed time, 71 minutes. Lisa stood back, wiping her hands. Tony and Maria had worked with barely any verbal communication, the kind of precision that comes from teams who've done this dozens of times. Trevor stood with his phone recording, mouth slightly open, genuinely shocked at the speed and professionalism he'd just witnessed. Lisa opened the driver's door, climbed in, turned the key to accessory. Gauges illuminated, fuel pump primed, the electric whine audible from the rear. She cranked the starter. The Subaru EJ20 turned over, once, twice, 3 times, caught, fired, settled into that characteristic turbo 4-cylinder idle. The exhaust note was totally foreign, coming from a VW Type 3, not the putt-putt flat 4 sound people expected, but the aggressive modern sound of turbocharged performance. Lisa let it warm up. For 3 minutes watching gauges. Oil pressure climbed to normal. Coolant temperature started rising appropriately. No warning lights, no leaks visible. Everything functioned exactly as designed. At minute 76, Lisa shifted into first gear, released the clutch, and drove the rust pile squareback through the parking lot. Smoothly, confidently. The turbocharged Subaru pulling the lightweight VW chassis with authority. She completed 2 laps around the showgrounds, shifted through all 5 gears, demonstrated the brakes worked, the steering functioned, The car was genuinely drivable. She parked back at her display spot, shut off the engine, climbed out, looked at Trevor. 76 minutes. Runs and drives. I believe you owe the Youth Restoration Program $5,000. The crowd absolutely erupted. People were cheering, clapping, filming, completely losing their minds at what they'd just witnessed. Trevor stood frozen, phone still recording, his entire worldview about what was possible just challenged. The show organizer, a woman named Patricia Wells who'd been running Vintage VW Revival for 18 years, walked over with a massive grin. "Lisa, that was the most impressive thing I've seen at this show in 2 decades. Would you be willing to do a demonstration seminar tomorrow? Show people your swap process, explain the engineering?" Lisa agreed. Trevor lowered his phone slowly, walked over to Lisa, extended his hand. "I was wrong about everything. That car I called junk just did something my $78,000 restoration could never do, and you did it in 76 minutes with a team of 3. I apologize for being dismissive and arrogant." Lisa shook his hand. "Apology accepted, and for the record, your restored squareback is beautiful. I respect preservation builds, but I respect performance builds too. There's room for both approaches in this community." Trevor nodded. "I'll make the donation today, and I'm posting a correction to my Instagram. What you just did deserves recognition, not mockery." Trevor posted a video that evening titled, "I was completely wrong. Watch this." It showed the entire 76-minute engine install, Lisa's team working with precision, the squareback driving away under its own power. His caption, "Earlier today I mocked someone's project car at a VW show. Then she installed a complete engine in 76 minutes and drove it. I learned a lesson about assumptions, about judging books by covers, and about respecting builds even when they don't match your aesthetic." Lisa Chen from Chen Performance Works is the real deal. Check her out. And I'm donating $5,000 to Youth VW Restoration, like I promised. An humble lesson, acts respect, the work. The video got 380,000 views in 2 days, thousands of comments praising Lisa's skills, and Trevor's willingness to admit he was wrong. Lisa's shop phone started ringing constantly. People wanted Subaru swaps in their VWs. Other shops wanted to learn her techniques. Magazines requested features. She hired 3 more employees to handle increased work. She started offering swap kits, engineered packages with all custom parts needed for Subaru into VW conversions, selling for $8,500 and including detailed instructions. First year she sold 180 kits worldwide. Second year 340 kits. The swap became known in VW communities as the Chen conversion, proof that old platforms could have modern performance without sacrificing classic aesthetics. The rusty squareback. That had been called junk. Lisa finished it completely over the next 3 months. She addressed all the rust with proper metalwork, painted it in original sage green, but with modern single-stage urethane, restored the interior with period-correct materials, kept the exterior looking mostly stock except for slightly wider tires. Under the engine cover, sat the turbocharged Subaru, making 310 horsepower after custom tuning. The car could run 13-second quarter miles while, looking like a grandma's grocery getter from 1967, Lisa drove it as her daily proving reliability. It became her rolling advertisement. People would see it at gas stations, ask questions, hand her business cards requesting builds. The car appeared in magazines, won Best Sleeper awards at shows, inspired hundreds of similar builds. Trevor Matthews became one of Lisa's customers 6 months later, commissioning a Subaru swap for his pristine turquoise squareback. He wanted the look of originality, with modern performance and reliability. Lisa built it, maintaining concours-level aesthetics while hiding 280 horsepower underneath. Trevor loved it, drove it to shows, always credited Lisa when people asked about the smooth power delivery and modern drivability. They became friends, mutual respect between people who'd started as critic and builder, but ended as collaborators in celebrating air-cooled VWs both ways. The story spread through classic car communities as legend. The mechanic who installed an engine in 76 minutes to prove a point, who turned rust into performance, who showed that impossible usually just means I haven't figured it out yet. Lisa never sought fame but became respected anyway because excellence creates its own reputation. People who do remarkable work get noticed regardless of whether they chase attention. The Chen Performance Works logo became synonymous with intelligent Restomod engineering. combining vintage soul with modern capability. Lisa taught seminars at technical schools, started a YouTube channel reluctantly at customer request, now at 180,000 subscribers, wrote a book about engine swaps and custom fabrication, all because she'd refused to accept that a rusty squareback couldn't be saved, that 3 hours wasn't enough time, that people who mocked her might actually be wrong. So one final time, where are you watching from? And what's your "they said I couldn't" story? The thing everyone claimed was impossible that you made happen anyway. Drop it in the comments, because Lisa Chen proved that limitations are often just lack of imagination, that preparation beats excuses, that the best revenge against mockery is capability demonstrated. Let's build a community that does impossible things together.